up, though, family? Shalom, family. It's your boy Furious, aka POW, Prisoner of War. This is my series, When Swirling Goes Wrong. Listen, this is not to disrespect, demean, devalue, or not be sensitive or sympathetic to the victims nor the victims' families. This is just me pointing out the psychological war that's against black love and black families. When you in the war, you usually fight knives against knives. You usually fight uh, bullets and guns versus bullets and guns, bombs versus bombs, tanks versus tanks, airplanes versus airplanes. So when you are involved in a psychological war or any war, it's good to give your enemy, your opponent, your op, the same energy that he's giving you or she's giving you. So this is a story about Dominique Clayton and Matthew Kinney. But let's start off talking about Matthew Kinney. So, let's start off with Matthew Kinney. We're going to do this the right way. Now, Matthew Kinney wasn't just any police officer. No! Matthew Kinney wasn't just some regular police officer. No! He was accomplished. Dedicated, what they said. Right? Awarded. Dominique Clayton died May 2019. Mr. Kinney was awarded Oxford's Policeman of the Year, January 2019. So the question that I have to ask, if this is what Oxford's best look like, I wonder what Oxford's worst look like. Matter of fact, I don't even know if I want to know. Dominique Clayton was a very beautiful black young woman that had her whole life ahead of her. She had a beautiful 4 kids. For whatever reason, her and the father of those kids separated for whatever reason, right? And she was single, and she was open to dating men, which is why she came across Matthew Kinney. Now, the irony of this story is we know that in the black community, the relationship between black community and law enforcement hasn't been good, to say the least. We know that there is a history, there's a lot of bad blood, right? So, when you see her platform, when you see her social media, she did a lot of praising of police and law enforcement, which leads me to believe, that she wanted to become a police officer. If not, she had aspirations. At the bare minimum, I would say she had aspirations to be a part of law enforcement. Right? You know, you don't have to be a police officer. You could be a crime lab tech. You could be a lawyer. You can handle some of the paperwork at the precincts and stuff like that, right? Non-lethal positions. But if I'm wrong, somebody could easily tell me. I don't know this girl. But what I gathered from her platform, I would say she had aspirations to one day be a part of law enforcement. Dominique's family and friends said that she was a loving, sweet person and was the life of the party, right? Now, since I told you a little bit about Matt, told you a little bit about Dominique, let's get into the actual real deal story. Now, in May 2019, Dominique Clayton's body was found by her 8-year-old son. She had apparently died from a gunshot wound. Now, family, we all know that there will not be a case of a black person being murdered by a white person without mentioning words like racism, white privilege, white supremacy, the absence of justice and due process. Now, I'm not gonna cap, family. I'm not gonna lie. This relationship between Matthew and Dominique had a bit of a sugar daddy vibe. Matthew Kinney bought Dominique a car, bought her gifts. Her sister said on the interview that Matthew used to sneak in her house when Dominique didn't even know he was there. Now, if you ask me, from my experiences in these cases, right? If you ask me, I think he was planning on killing her for a very long time. What type of person would sneak in the person's house that they're dating? All right? When was the last time somebody that you was messing with snuck in your house without you knowing? Think about that, family. So I think he had this in his mind for a very long time. He was just maybe in planning mode for a long time. Maybe he was building up the nerve, or maybe it was just about him waiting for the right trigger moment. You know, no pun intended. So in May 2019, I guess the uncle was babysitting the nephew, or maybe just picked the nephew up and was going to drop the nephew off with her mother. So the uncle tells his nephew, hey, let's go in there and trick your moms. Let's play a game on your moms. So the uncle sent the boy in the house trying to play some type of game, right? And then the boy discovers his mother. Just think about that for a second, family. Just really close. I want you to really close your eyes. Think about how traumatized that 8-year-old boy gonna be for the rest of his life. Think about it. They even said that the boy, after the murder, was having nightmares, crying in his sleep. Do you know how sad and deplorable that is? Right? That little boy will always remember that. That's a very sad story, family.
Investigators say he was in a romantic relationship with. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Richard Ransom. Katina has the night off. Police say Matthew Kinney shot the victim, Dominique Clayton, in the head. Local 24 News reporter Rebecca Butcher spoke to the victim's family and has tonight's top story.
Well, very scarce details were released in today's news conference here at the Oxford Police Department in the death of Dominique Clayton. Family members were present and they say they just want answers.
Today is about justice for Dominique. Dominique was a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a member of our community. And today is about her.
Jeff. Nope. Jeffrey, I'm not gonna let you ruin her name. I'm not gonna let you lie on her. The initial report from the Oxford police was that she committed suicide. So you and your deputies, or I'll be fair, your deputies were going to lie and say that this woman committed suicide. The mother of 4. That's wrong, bro. That's wrong. Y'all homeboy Matthew Kinney shot this innocent woman of 4, mother of 4. And y'all was gonna cover it up. That is sad. I'm not gonna let you lie on her. Look at these 2 white police officers who had to resign. Mind you, Matthew Kinney was fired 3 days after he killed her. Right? I guess HR didn't get around to firing him on the day he was convicted of the murder. They had to wait 3 days afterwards. This whole thing stunk from from the first arrivals on the scene all the way to the judicial system, all the way into the prison system. This whole thing stinks of white supremacy. It was corrupted every phase of the process, from the police, the first responders, to the courts, all the way to the prison system. Those are three different institutions that show corruption in this one case. I don't think it's out of the realms of possibility that this happens all the time. It's just this time they got caught. That's it. This time they just got caught. I think it's logical to assume this happens a lot more than they want to give credence to. It's just this time we found out about it. Now I want y'all to take a gander at this. What is this, Furious? I'll tell you what this is. Somebody released a clip or maybe a picture of Matthew Kinney. This picture is Matthew Kinney eating at a jail. Now, if you look to the left of him, behind him to the left, you will see an open prison door, open jail door. So that leads me to assume that when they arrested him, they was just having a ball, right? He can go in and out of the damn cell. Probably went to the store to get some beers for the other COs, or, you know, what you guys having? You guys want some Popeyes? I'll be right back, you know? Yeah. This is what we, remember the trigger words before I really got into the depths of this video? Remember the trigger words. This is what we call white privilege. See, because of his race, he's able to go in and out of the jails. He's able to go in and out the jail cell like it's his house. Like he's at one of his comrades' house, one of his friends' house or something. He's able to go in and out freely. Thank God for whoever leaked this tape or this clip. Thank God. In the name of Dominique Clayton and her family. Thank God. But to go back to Mr. Interim Chief, right? No, bro. You're not about to lie to the public and tell them that y'all had her best interest at heart. This is what modern day white supremacy looks like. This wasn't 30 years ago, 10 years ago. This was a couple of years ago, family. This is what it looks like. Corruption in every institution of America that is biased to white people and oppressive to black people. And you know, go ahead and pretend like you didn't know this. Go ahead and pretend like you're surprised. Just go ahead, yeah, pretend like you didn't know this was going on. I want you to imagine the pain the Clayton family went through, family. So she was killed in May 2019. COVID hit in 2020, I think March 2020. So through this whole ordeal, not only was they dealing with the death of a family member, the murder of a family member, but they was also dealing with COVID. The new world. We have all been living in a different world the past couple of years since COVID hit. So I'm just trying to get into the mind state of the Clayton family. And I feel so sorry for everything this family has endured, right? It's just sad. It's really sad. I want you to keep in mind, family, that Dominique Clayton was killed in May 2019, right before COVID hit. So not only have this family been dealing with the death of a loved one, the murder of a loved one, but they also have been dealing with COVID. We've been living in a new world the past 3 years. And the fact that they only charge Mr. Matthew Kinney with murder and not breaking into a house, premeditated first-degree murder. The reason why is because of the corruption and racism. So I really need y'all to understand that. I don't want that part to go over your head. I don't want that part to go over your head. That's 3 different institutions in America that prove to be biased and impartial because of skin color. The police department, the two police officers, right, that tried to say it was suicide. Then you got the judicial system that didn't charge him for the other crimes like breaking and entering, premeditated murder, murdering somebody while you are in a federal uniform or state uniform, and him being able to eat outside of his jail cell. Those are 3 different institutions. Are you following me, family? Am I reaching here? Am I going over your head a little bit? Let me know.
My name is Carlos Moore. I'm the managing partner of the Cochran Firm, Mississippi Delta. I'm joined by several family members of the decedent, Dominique Clayton. I appreciate all of you coming out today. We appreciate the support from a broad section of the community, both black and white, for the Clayton family. This has been a week that this family would never forget. On Sunday afternoon, the youngest child of Miss Clayton found her dead in her home when he was dropped off at the home by her uncle. We would like to, first of all, before we get into any more detail, we would like to thank publicly the interim chief of police, Chief McCutcheon, for standing with the family and for doing the right thing and arresting Matthew Kinney for murder of Miss Clayton. We also thank him for supporting, taking the stance that Matthew Kinney did not deserve bond. And so on today, I believe Judge Gregory did sign an order denying bond, and so the family is appreciative of that. We're also glad that Judge Howarth recused himself from the case. I believe the family had some concerns, and to avoid the appearance of any impropriety, I believe Judge Howarth did the right thing to recuse himself, and that justice will be served in this case. I was just recently retained as of yesterday. We want to know, first of all, why Matt is only charged with murder. We believe that Miss Clayton did not let him in her home. We believe she was asleep when he got there. So how did he get in? If he burglarized her home and then committed murder. I've only been practicing 17 years, but I believe that's capital murder. Capital murder and capital murder would deserve the death penalty. If you execute somebody in their own home while they're sleeping in their bed, you shoot them in the back of their head, that's not simply murder. If you do it during the commission of another felony, that's capital murder. And while I'm not going to go so far as Senator Hyde Smith did and call to be at a front row of his public hanging, if you do decide to charge this man with capital murder, and if the jury decides to convict him, I will happily join the family at the front row of a public death by firing squad. Mississippi made it the law where we can execute people by firing squad. I believe lethal injection is not good enough. This man needs to be executed by firing squad for what he did. If he is found guilty in a court of law, we're not going to ask for any extrajudicial killings. I don't believe in public hangings. The family does not believe in that. But if he goes to the jury system, the public judicial system, and he is found guilty, not only of murder, but of capital murder, this man deserves the death penalty. And this family, those 4 kids, an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 14-year-old, they deserve to see justice. And justice for this family will encompass Matt Kinney being held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. If the facts determine that it was not capital murder and it was simply murder, the family is going to want him sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole. We're not here to prejudge any of the facts, but we are confident that no stone will be unturned in discovering the truth. The family also wants to know, why did certain members of the Oxford Police Department initially tell them that their loved one had committed suicide? That was so shocking and the furthest from the truth. The mother had spoken to her daughter about 6 or 7 p.m. the night before she was found dead, and she was totally happy and full of life. But for the initial reaction from a member or two of the Oxford Police Department to tell the family that she committed suicide, that had to add insult to injury. And the family immediately told them no, she was dating a cop. Check the car in her driveway. It's registered to a cop, Matthew Kinney. So some of the evidence was so convincing they couldn't deny it. And so we're happy that he was immediately arrested and that he is now held behind bars where he belongs for a long, long time. Someone who was sworn to protect and serve. Someone who was the best of the best, if you ask Oxford. I believe in January of this year, they gave him the top mounted patrol officer of the year. This was the best Oxford had to offer. And if the best Oxford had to offer could do something like this, Lord, help us about the rest of us, the people that they deemed less than the officer of the year. If the officer of the year committed murder, if he's found to have committed murder, I would not sleep easy at night until we do a better screening of the folks we hire to protect and serve. Yes. We need to do some psychological testing. This man was unfit to be the city's dog catcher, yet he was given a badge. He was given a shield to patrol the streets of Oxford. It's time out. It's time out.
Judge has ordered a former police officers to pay $2.2 million to the children of a woman killed in 2019. According to the Daily Leader, Matthew Kinney is ordered to pay each child $300,000. Kinney is currently serving a life sentence for the death of Dominique Clayton, whose children are now between the ages of 11 to 17.
This was a very sad story. Listen, this video is not about who you love or who you should love. You want to love a red person, green person, blue person. That's between you and the Most High God. But what this video is about is the overall narrative, agendas, and propaganda. When a young black boy, a young black girl turns on the TV, turns on their tablet or their computer, right? They should see an honest representation of black love, of black family, of black masculinity, and of black femininity. But they don't. So that means that there's a psychological war that our kids are going through. We can't just sit back and let that happen. The irony of this is the same system and police department, police culture that Dominique Clayton praised is the same system and police culture that at every turn tried to deny Dominique justice. At every turn tried to dehuman her life, her worth to this planet. So this video is shedding a light on that. The same system, the same culture, and the same people that didn't want to give her justice, she praised. And that's not no slight to her. There ain't no slight to her. We should all be able to learn from our mistakes or grow or be able to receive information and change our minds or not change our minds. She wasn't afforded that luxury of getting more information, of growing, or of learning. Her life was snuffed out by a coward, by a race soldier, by a very evil, demented, sick man. A federal judge in Mississippi has rewarded $2.2 million to children of women who was slain by a former Oxford police officer. You know what pissed me off is how the news companies, the news platforms were calling her a mistress. I think that was very sick to call this mother of four a mistress. I think that was a way for them to shade her in their own little way. Why would you call this woman a mistress? And let me tell you something. These kids don't give a goddamn about that money. If it was up to them, they would have their mother back, and you can keep their money. I promise you. Outside of Dominique Clayton herself, the biggest victims was the family, the friends, and the kids of Miss Clayton. They was tortured throughout this whole process. I mean, from A to Z of the so-called justice system, they were tortured. They were tortured. When she was initially killed, the first responders ruled the death a suicide, even though the family and the friends said that was impossible for her to be depressed or sad and want to kill herself. They knew it was not true. The mother had just talked to her the previous night. These people, this family and her friends and the people of the community that loved her, they were tortured throughout this whole process. First you had that, right? They ruled the murder a suicide. Okay. Then you had the court, the judicial system, the court system. They only charged him with murder, not for stalking, not for first-degree capital murder, even though they knew he was in the bushes, even though they knew he killed her while he was on duty. Okay. That's the second one. The third one, they tried to wiggle a loophole to get Matthew Kinney out on bond. I want you to think about that. I want you to let that soak in your head. They was actually trying to find a loophole, the judge, in letting Matthew Kinney, a guy that shot a woman cold-blooded, mother of four, shot her in the head, mother of four. All right. That's why the judge had to recluse himself. All right. Then the jail system, the penal system of Oxford, Mississippi. There was a tape leaked that Matthew Kinney was basically enjoying his white privilege in jail. He was able to come in and out of the jail cell, eat, right? Just a smack in the face at the Clayton family. They were being tortured throughout this whole ordeal. And God bless the person that leaked that tape or that video of Matthew Kinney enjoying his time in jail, eating a damn sandwich or soup or whatever the hell the race soldier was eating. All right? Then the news station called her a mistress. Not a mother of four. They call her a mistress. So that's four different institutions of America that failed Dominique Clayton and tortured the loved ones of Dominique Clayton. Four different institutions. The news station, the media, the court system, the jail system, and the police system. That's four different systems that failed the Clayton family and failed black people as a whole. Now they stuck together. White supremacy sticks together. They're on code together. But we not on code. We supposed to be behind the Clayton family. Why we not behind the Clayton family? They stick together. White supremacy stick together. But we don't stick together with our own people.
After an Oxford cop appears in court for killing his mistress. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Richard Ransom.
And our victim is protesting a prosecutor's discussion of possible bail for the police officer charged with killing her daughter.
That man came through the bushes while he was on duty and kept walked in behind my daughter's home, put a bullet in the back of her head and executed her.
Now that was Bessie Clayton. She shouted complaints to reporters after a hearing for Oxford police officer Matthew Kinney on Wednesday. She says no black person would be considered for bail, but prosecutors and a judge are willing to consider bail for the white man accused of killing her daughter. The victim, 32-year-old Dominic Clayton, was black. Bessie Clayton also complains that Lafayette County Circuit Judge Andrew Howarth laughed during the hearing. Clayton's relatives began voicing displeasure as they left the courtroom.
Now, my final thoughts is, I just want to say that the lawyer also said that 3 days before Clayton was killed, Mr. Kinney asked that Dominique Clayton remove her dogs. So, you know, it don't take Columbo with the little brown jacket and a cigar to see that this man had been planning this for days, maybe even a month, maybe even months or weeks or whatever, right? It don't take it don't take Columbo or Matlock to see that this man has been planning this. He told her a couple days before her death to get rid of her dogs. And that's where it gets fuzzy at. Some reports said that she told him that she was pregnant. Some reports say that, well, the family, I'm gonna believe the family, I'm not gonna believe the reports, but the family say that she was tired of him. She didn't want him to be around no more. He was creeping her out. She was done with him, right? And some rumors say that she was going to tell his family about the affair. So some don't know what to believe. Me personally, I'm going to believe the family. I'm going to believe that the family know firsthand knowledge of all this. And the family said that she was done with him. He was creeping her out, sneaking around her house. Even during the relationship, the sister has said that during the relationship, he would find a way in the house or sneak in the house or something to the nature, just very creepy, right? Surprise, surprise, you know? Surprise, surprise. He was creepy, right? I hope you see my smart ass energy when I say surprise, surprise. That he would be creeping her out, right? So, yeah, family, and you know, and just in general, when it comes to swirl relationships and swirl love, I find it weird of the dynamic that you can be with a person that has privilege, has more privilege, and is given the benefit of the doubt more than you. So if you're with somebody of that color, right? If you're with somebody of that color and you love them, y'all in a relationship, that's cool, right? But this person has more privilege than you on this land. This person has the benefit of the doubt over you on this land. And when you're with somebody, it's about being equal with somebody, right? To an extent, it's about being equal. It's about loving them and the world seeing both of us the same way. Well, that's not the case in these cases. If she was murdered by a black person, would he be able to get all of these perks from the law? If a black person murdered Dominique Clayton, would he be able to get a bond based off of color? Would his charges be not as much charges, right? Will he be given the benefit of the doubt? Will he receive any privileges or perks when it comes to the charges? No. But this your boy Furious, aka POW, prisoner of war. Truth sounds like hate to people who hate the truth. We sick, mass is sick. We sick, mass is sick, and the only immunity is unity.
Will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised. The revolution will be no rerun, brothers. The revolution will be live.